Everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the National Signing Day podcast. I'm your host, Coach Martin, and we got a great show today. We got Cheri Naudin. Did I say it right? Is it Naudin?
Yes, sir, you did.
Awesome. With the College Sports Advocate. And before I jump in, because I always want to start that way people can learn who you are, I'm excited about this because I've had the pleasure of having a pretty good conversation with you before. This is a girl that provides a ton of knowledge, a ton of wealth. I know we just had signing day yesterday. We had a lot of our people like texting all day. Hey, coach, this person got signed. Going to remove them from the software, and that excites me. And I'm excited about this call. I'm pumped. So Cheri, tell us a little about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I am Cheri Naudin. I have three of my own children that went through the recruiting process over 10 to 15 years ago. And we are a family that is in the business of sport. As a sample, my husband is still a travel ball coach. My son is a travel ball coach. We're in the very heavily known in the softball world. My middle daughter was a Big 12 superstar and now is a Division II coach at Maryville in St. Louis. My youngest daughter ended up playing soccer, but she grew up playing with some of the greats in softball. She is a litigation, NIL, and Title IX attorney. So we are 100%, all five of us, in the sport of sports. So again, very well known in softball. I would tell you right now, we're the #1 recruiting solution in softball because of our unique platform. So if you want me to go into that, I'll be happy to tell everybody the secret to our sauce.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's awesome now obviously getting to know you. So yeah, now part two, like we definitely want to, tell us about your business and then jump into like, how it started. So let's kind of go there.
Awesome. I'm a very passionate person. You'll get that. I get very worked up over things that I think are unjust. And when I saw my own student athletes going through the process, I was a catcher trainer and a slapper trainer, and people kept asking, how did you do it? And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not sure there was a system to it. And I watched a lot of big, huge companies make a lot of money, but I thought they were missing the real important thing, which is having a knowledgeable person with a background and experience in understanding the layers of the sport, understanding the student athlete's talent, and understanding where they can fit. And we don't dictate, we communicate, and that's where we're really good. Our relationships are with the college coaches. We have 653 committed student athletes in 10 years. There's nobody that touches what we do. We utilize those relationships in softball to utilize that, connectivity with other sports. We're very good at baseball. We have an amazing advocate that just started our basketball side. We have a rugby person. We have lots of people that have done a lot of sports, including football. So when you see our page, we scream, wow, softball, everything. But our model literally works across all platforms because it has that individual connection. It has a weekly connection. It was built on time management, communication, and accountability, and built in touch points that really engage us in a personal advocate with the student athlete. They cannot fail. They will go where their talent dictates, where their team plays and who they play against, their academic fit, and then all of the other, I call them squishy things that work,
Hmm.
to make it the fit along the way.
Yeah, I like it. And I know it's funny because, I'll have some debates with people on this particular piece where somebody will say, well, they only can help fill in the blank, right? Whether it's softball or gymnastics or whatever. And I'm one where I don't believe that. I think that somebody that has learned and figured out the winning process, I think you could take that process, that template, and apply it all the way across.
Oh,
I mean,
you're 100% correct. I spent
so
28 years in corporate senior management in the telecom industry from start to finish, and that's where I learned the foundation. It is a science. It works. A million people, and this is always a little ick for me. A lot of people come into this recruiting space thinking it's really fun and easy because it's so emotionally rewarding when they actually do commit. But I find very few people stay the course, provide value. I always say, where's Waldo? Where's Waldo? Because they kind of come and go from the space and they move on to the next greatest thing, like being an NIL connection or an agent. They're more driven by the emotional things that happen in the sport, where we have stayed committed to our process. And here's the big ding, ding, ding. I always say, ring the bell. We stay with them until they graduate
mm,
college. I don't see anybody doing that. And if they are, it's not in their contracts, it's not well known, and it's not one of their buying pieces. And that's what I feel student athletes and their families are picking us because we help them through the journey. We help them through the portal. We help them through JUCO transfers, all of the crazy things that have happened. I mean, NCAA has had more changes than I think I've had commitments. It's just crazy to think that people can go navigate it themselves and just splash their videos all over social media. I do teach them social media too. If you take a peek at our Twitter, which is at CSA_athletes, you're going to see we're not puking or vomiting or barfing content all day long, because the more video and film you actually put out there, the more college coaches they got content now to eliminate you. Very few student athletes can go up there and put your content and the people go, whoa, wow. And then you're saying, well, why is this kid being so good? Why does he need to go up there and post this kind of content? It just means something else is going on. And I joke, I hope you don't mind a
No.
little prop, but I do this on TikTok all the time. Red flag, because the minute the student athletes and the parents start doing it themselves, we immediately see a lot of flags. And what I get passionate about is, man, don't go it alone, start early. Our spend is the same no matter if you get us in the eighth grade or if you get us the junior year, but we can do so much more if we get the student athletes early and get the seasons under their belt and be able to provide them an evaluation of one season and a planning session into the next season. So there's so many steps along the way that we are hands-on. We're prepping them before they go to camp. We even tell the parents, call us before you spend the money on the camp or the gimmick. Let us use our experience to make sure that's the right fit for your student athlete. We joke all the time, man, you're putting your kid on an airplane, sending them 3,000 miles across the country to go to a university where their academics will never get them into that university. But that's their dream school. And, they kind of stay on that path until they realize at the end. And there was a young lady that went viral on Twitter saying her family spent over $30,000 and she could never figure out why. And yet I represented a kid on her same team.
Mm.
And now she's going back saying, I regret that I didn't listen, not just to me, but to the other people in the marketplace. And that's because nobody was individually helping her talent and her desires on where she fit. And I think that's, again, the secret sauce for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much good in that right there because I think if you were to take a look at the majority of the people, they don't get it. And I always think of, I'm gonna go like I always think of verse, you know, because the lack of knowledge my people perish. In recruiting, I'm telling you right now, so many people die on the sword because they do not have the right plan. They don't. They're hearing bad information from people they just don't know what they're talking about, and they're running with that. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, they're wondering why what they did didn't work. So yeah, I think I mean, having somebody that knows how to navigate through the valley of trial and error and get people to where they're trying to get to is, I mean, to me, that's priceless. So
Yeah.
Cheri, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for 10 years. You've gotten a ton of kids recruited. Can you remember, like, was there an aha moment when you're like, ding, 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 hey, I need to go into this space and help these kids.
Yeah, there really was. I had been laid off out of telecom in 2008, and I was training catchers and slappers, and these kids were coming up, and they were going and spending all this money going to camps and being told that if they wanted it, they could do it, and it was very idealistic. And I'm a realist. I told my kids the truth their whole life, and people said, "Oh, well, that's not fair. If they really want it and they work hard, they can get it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's just not okay." And I can spew the numbers in softball. There's about 8,000 student athletes that actually play in all divisions, D1, D2, NAIA, JUCO, and I love all of those, and D3, right? And yet, if there's only 8,000 and you have almost 500,000 playing the game and pursuing that dream, that's not real. And then it was the realization that the parents want what they want and they think they pay for what they want, but they don't understand the layers of the sport. And they're like, my kid's the best kid in high school. And you're like, okay. They don't play at the elite level to even understand who they're competing against. And then they go to these camps and they're like, oh, my kid was good. She did a great job. there was 200 kids at the camp, and she wasn't the best. And that was one of 8 or 10 or 15 camps that that university puts on a year, doing the camp route and just going it alone. And they add it up and they come back and they say, oh no, they're talking to me. They said they're going to come to my games. And, it's the college coaches are not going to go up to 250 kids and go, sir, you're not for me. You're not going to be my talent level.
Correct.
They're not dream crushers as they've been called, right? But they're saying, thanks for coming to my camp and thanks for engaging and thanks for coming to learn, because that is an advantage. But they would come back and they hang on till it's too late,
Mm.
and then they quit. They don't even play their sport because they didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get what their parents had set them up to believe that they could get. And yet you're still going, are you kidding? You don't want to go play in an NAIA where you're going to, have an education and a student athlete experience in a small classroom and get a degree. I'm really top heavy on D1, but it's not because I pitched that, but it's because the layer of the sport that I'm out there in, right? Where I'm visible at the bigger, better tournaments is because that's typically where our teams are playing from a family perspective. But that aha moment is really when it gets passed up and then they start blaming. Oh, it was my travel coach. Oh, no, it was my high school coach. They didn't play my kid enough, or, she's small, or she's too tall, or, this person was mistreated, and lots of complaining about being mistreated. And it's not. It's they're not understanding early enough that their kid could have played, but they weren't listening to the silence or the nice
Hmm.
redirection, and taking that feedback. I listened to a book called Thanks for the Feedback. I actually love that book. I think everybody should listen to it because I think this younger generation is now getting a little bit of the taste of their money, because it's going to be harder for student athletes to get into being an athlete with top heavy on the portal, top heavy on JUCO returning. There's just so many things standing in front of them from being as rich as it used to be. We used to, get 6 to 8 new student athletes each year in a college, and it's diminished because the portal is really, really vibrant. And so now they're missing out, and it's because they're not willing to listen to the feedback. This next generation's listening because they're like, oh my God, I better listen because it's not happening as easy as it did in the past. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in today's
Yeah,
coaches.
I like it. And you made it when you were making the point earlier when you were talking about how, people, a lot of people just think like, hey, if I work hard enough, the thought that always, the picture that comes to my mind is always the hamster on the wheel. Hey, I could tell the hamster all day, man, you can run all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but that hamster ain't going anywhere. And in reality, it's the same way. If you're on a wheel, I don't care how hard you're working, it is not going to work for you. So that was
That's
the
something
visual that
I've
came in
seen with,
mind.
yeah, with walk-ons. People say, well, she's going to go to the school of her choice and she's just going to walk on. And I'm like,
Correct.
if your kid had value, they would give you something. But you don't understand how big that gap is if you think you can walk onto a school that's not even going to give you a nod.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, typically my next question usually is, how do you help somebody? Even though I look at a good coach that goes from one place to the other, and I don't care if it's a coach, I don't care if it's in business. Last couple of companies where I worked, I was brought in, have a pretty good sized team, and the job is to help scale. So whether we were trying to get to 85 million for the one or 50 million to the other, it's all irrelevant. It's just a number, right? But I know for me, I had a couple things that I had to get done. And one of the things is I had to get everyone better. So I have to
Right.
change the environment. I have to get people better, and then I would leverage outside sources. But like with you, even though I could literally make a laundry list already of what you told me, is there can you give like a couple items, like again, and even if you have to repeat it, if you were to share to the audience, like how do you help people get from A to B?
Are you ready? I have a laundry list.
Yes.
And it really starts with personal touch. And it is this Zoom call, team call that we get everybody on. It's the way to touch, with a visual. I think you have to get to know each other. And then we do what we call an onboarding call and we get everything set up. And I am a master marketer. There's not a tip in marketing that I don't initiate. Sometimes it's overwhelming at the beginning, so we'll piece it out week by week. They have a weekly touch point. We call it Texting Tuesday. It's kind of like our thing, right? And that's when they connect. And this is when I tell the parents, we're accountable to you. If you're paying us and your kid is texting us, we're texting back and we're connecting, but we're not babysitters either. You know, we set it up, we lay out the platform, and then we're massaging it as they go. But it's then that accountability, time management. We teach them a 45-minute time management course that I actually developed myself on a simple task of reducing redundancy, reducing clutter and distractions, and managing how much time they spend doing unproductive things. So we do that right away at 45-minute time management training. Then I teach them social media. Social media is 98% of the reason they don't make it. It's a downfall. I show them why it works, why it doesn't work, when to use it, why to use it. I'm again, master marketer with stuff like that. And it's not always the emotional pleasing that the parents want. They want to see their kid jumping up and down and lifting weights. I don't know a coach in the country that wants to see 500,000 athletes going up on Twitter and lifting weights and showing that they're working out. They expect that to be part of what you do. So we always say, like that quarterback Joe, put it on the field. You don't need to tell us about it. Put it on the field. So our model is to get college coaches to come see you play, because in sport, you can be all those things in the cages, all those things in the practice videos, but let's see what your game looks like. So that's like our goal there. After that initial touch, then we're touching them again with, if a coach calls you, we're going to prepare you for that phone call before you take that call. We're going to, spice up their voicemail. We're going to spice up their customized signatures on their emails. We do so many tips that just make it polished, and everything's linking together. If you got a Twitter, your Twitter's linking to our page. If you've got our page going, we're connecting you to social media sites that matter. I am an anti Snapchat person. I came again from that industry. There's so much wrong with Snapchat, man. I just can't get the kids off of it quick enough. It's clearly not a good thing for recruiting. So I really try to get them away from that. But then we're prepping them for visits. We're prepping them to accept an offer or not, and listening to what the coaches are saying. We're helping them understand the timing of their journey in the process and why they're not picking them today. Why did they slow down the 2026 class? We're giving them that information so that they're not, losing their emotions in the process.
Yeah.
Then we're doing the follow-up, like, why would you pick this school? And we are collecting that data about what their individual decision grid should be through these touches, a minimum of 3 visual calls / phone calls a year, where we're talking about what's working and readjusting. And that's why we like them early. It's really tough to pivot when you're 2026 and you're out there going, why am I not recruited? Right. And they're still not, willing to sign up as easy. We've seen some basketball responses saying, well, there's just a million people. Are you for real? 653 commits and we're not for real? Come on. What's for real, right? For real is you're probably not going to go play basketball in college if you don't pick a partner and pick the best one to get you done.
Yeah. I like that, Cheri.
Oh, and
So
let me
sure.
finish, because I
Yeah, yeah.
just did this today. I have 304 in college right now, and I've spent 3 days texting each one of them personally, tagging their advocate and saying, hey, where are you? How you doing? We wish you well. What's going on? We're here for you. I don't know of another recruiting service that engages with them when they're in college to make sure they're doing all right.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, like I always think of like I use the term the Nordstrom effect. I mean, truly, you're
That's my
literally
favorite
getting that.
store.
No, I mean, listen, and whether somebody likes Nordstroms or they don't, or maybe you're a Walmart person and you're listening, I'm going to just tell you that the service is different going to a Walmart than it is going to a Nordstrom. And
Yeah.
anyone that shops at Nordstrom's, you know what I'm talking about, right?
And
So,
we're less expensive than the big guys. I don't get it.
so yeah, I love it. I love it. Now you probably have a lot of answers to this one, but I want you to think of one. So what's one thing in the college recruiting space that just irks you?
That they pick according to the emotional high. One parent tells them one thing that they did in the past, like, oh, my kid is at XYZ university and this is how we got recruited. And a family listens to that one recruiting story and they bank it all on that. It doesn't happen like that. It really, really irks me when there's people that actually do this, we're almost 1,200 students deep. We've touched 1,200 student athletes, but you're going to listen to anecdotal a TikTok dad or a Facebook dad saying their one experience with their one kid, or yes, you can get recruited out of high school. Well, good luck. If that's going to be your strategy, we wish you well. But, people came for me on that topic on a reels that we had put out saying, well, of course they can. I said, well, if that's going to be your strategy, good luck. But when I'm in the business of helping kids get the most out of their recruiting process, we're going to choose a proven method.
Yeah, I love it. So we're going to go back in time. We're going to jump in the DeLorean. Some of you are like, what's he talking about?
Oh,
Back
I
to the
remember that.
future. So the Back to the Future, we're going to go back. So if you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and you were to just give yourself just one piece of advice, you could just tell yourself one thing at 18 years old. Cheri, what would that be?
I would have played my sport. Now I am pre-Title IX, so there was no chance for me to play for a college degree back then. So I would just say I would have still played my sport a little longer because it provides you positive, productive people doing positive, productive things in life. As a hiring manager, I would go out of my way to hire athletes long before I was in the business of sports recruiting because of the life skills and the things they learned along the way. I think it's priceless. I think we're way too hung up on the dollars for NIL. There's very few that get that, and good for them if they do. The rest of us, man, the college education means everything. It changes. We used to joke, it changes your family tree, the branch on your tree. That degree means everything. Get it, take it to the finish. If you look at my commitments, I've got Ivy League kids all over. I love the big high end D3s. It's because of what it does. It's life changing. And that's why I've passionately been involved in recruiting. It's life changing.
Love it. So Cheri, what's one question you'd like to ask me?
I would say, why does anybody else come in this space? Is it just for the money? Because the money has not been there for me. I make a decent living enough to do the job, but why did you come into this recruiting space?
Yeah, so actually, really good question. So for me, I love sports. I love to compete. My body doesn't really hold up to it. I've ruptured my bicep, my rotator, both Achilles, right? So I love to go out and do it, but we get older. It just, like we have it in the, in the mind, but we don't really have it in the body. But in my space, my background's in business. I wish I could say that I was the, D1 athlete. I wish I could say, I was a professional, whatever. And it wasn't the case. I've been able to help businesses. I've spoken in over 100 businesses at business conferences across the country, and I trained thousands and thousands of business professionals. So helping them go from A to B, I'm really, really good at. Now, the last couple of companies I was brought in to help scale, that we did about 135 mil. Like I said, there's three things I would always do, and our production would always go up. But it was interesting because in the sports space, I always felt like recruitment was a money grab. I always felt like kids weren't being put in position to be successful, which is the same with a lot of times in businesses. The floor or the sales team really they're not in position to win. And if they don't win, the company's not going to win, right? So that part really irked me. So I'm like, I know that there's camps that these kids go to. Well, a lot of times you go to camps, the decision makers aren't even there. It's an associate or assistant or like whatever the case is.
Right.
So what we did, what I did back in 2017 was the third piece of that I would do is I would leverage software. So I would always bring in software to my professionals. So let's say I had 40 sales professionals to this one company that we were going to hit 50 million this year. Well, if I were to break those sales floor up into two teams, and I had one team that was cold calling people, and I had another team that was calling people that was looking at their stuff, who would have better success? It would always
Right.
be team two, right? So in 2017, I just walked away from that space. Now I still speak in this space, but I walked away and I, spent a year having a development team develop software that was very similar that I would use in the private sector. And then we just basically had software that we provide kids at a very, very cheap, affordable price. We charge like $30 a month. We don't do upsells. We don't do anything. And they can leverage software to be able to get their game in front of people and then know via alerts every time that profile is looked at, every time that video is watched. Like as an example, we had a football player not long ago who the recruiting coordinator for Appalachian State, watched his video 7 times in 2 days. Well, normally that kid would have took his huddle link and dropped it on the coach's Twitter feed. Well, that's just a plan that doesn't put him in position to win. You have no idea if anyone looks at your stuff. But because he had our software, he took the link and dumped it in. And now every time that coach moving forward looks at his video, he's going to get alert. So the biggest piece for me was just wanted to be able to at least get these kids and put them in a position to be successful instead of what a lot of them were doing. That's all. So that's kind of
Love
why
it.
I went in from that space, and then it kind of morphed into where we help businesses in the space. But yeah, I mean, if we can empower a kid, and the thing I like about it, Cheri, is when you empower one of these kids in the recruiting piece, I promise you that they don't even understand that what you teach them goes well beyond the whistle, right? So when they graduate and get their degree, trust me when I tell you, they're gonna the principles that they've learned from Cheri, they're gonna apply those for the rest of their life. Like when you teach them how to sell themselves to a coach, like what job interview would they not land because they already know how to sell themselves to a decision maker, right? So
Yes,
they're
and
not
I'm
even thinking
thinking of
that.
exactly one that we're doing right now. We do SMART goals and we do it 4 weeks in a row, twice a year. SMART goals. We teach them how to build their social media for potential NILs. We're teaching them marketing 101. We do 30 days of yoga with them. We do arm care with them. We do so many ancillary
Mm,
individual programs with them, but we're teaching them that time management,
yeah,
communication, and accountability. And you hit the nail on the head with our kids in college. They said, "Oh my God, if I didn't have a time management tool to help me, I would have failed my freshman year." And, when they get to not understanding what's going on, like, why am I not playing enough? We go back to the model control, no control, and what do you influence? And we
yeah,
brainstorm and we take little stickies out. We do things like that. So I'm taking corporate America tools that we learned along the way to building those sales teams like you were talking about, to
yeah.
building these individuals with those skill sets that they need in order to make it through the journey.
Cheri, I love it. I love everything that you're spitting out. It's great stuff. So again, how can everyone find out more about you, learn more, and like inquire on your services?
Love it. Our website is www.collegiatesportsadvocate.com or collegesportsadvocate.com. We have both URLs. Click on there, hit contact us, tell us where you heard about us. We like to connect. I personally call every lead that comes into this office because it's very personal for me. Somebody asks, why I like Deion Sanders, and I'm like, it's personal, you know, and it's really, that's probably my banner. It's personal. I'm also on TikTok. I do a live show every Monday night with a young lady named Coach Margot. It's under her live. I do a live Twitter, 8 p.m. Central Time every Monday, and I come up with a title each week. I've had some of the most notorious coaches in the business as guests on my Twitter live, but it's usually whatever's going on in the sport. So I'm very active with the college coach world out there. I attend the major conventions, but um, if you go to our www.collegiatesportsadvocate.com page, go to the bottom. Every link is there for every social media platform. And then our media page has all past recordings. And with your permission, would love to, put some kind of link back to this too, and cross connect and cross brand with this recording.
Yeah, we would for sure love that. And then again, so everyone, so you're going to go to the college. So I wrote it down, collegesportsadvocate.com. Definitely go to that. If you get off and you're like, oh, what was that? I forgot what it was. Uh, at the end of the day, you'll be able to go to the National Signing Day podcast.com. You'll be able to scroll down. You'll see a picture of Cheri, and you'll be able to have a link to not only her social medias, and we're also going to have a link to your actual website. So it'll be there. We're going to leave it up this year. It's going to be there. And ultimately, I think obviously you do an amazing job. You've done it for a long time, and
Thank
and
you. That,
anyone that's
that means a
listening,
lot to us.
yeah, well, it's true, and they're going to be in great hands with you. So Cheri, thank you so much for being part of the National Signing Day podcast. We love to learn about you, and we're looking forward to learning even more about you in the near future.
Great. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.